everyone. Welcome to the B-Side Breakdown. My name is Brett Johnson. I am your host. This is Season 1, Episode 6 of a podcast where I talk with other artists, musicians, and songwriters about a song they've written that is particularly meaningful to them and to get deep into the why behind it. This song can be from any band, any era, any genre. As long as they had a hand in writing it, then it's fair game and we want to hear about it. Today, I'm going to be talking with Brian Larson, who's a singer-songwriter from Minnesota. Not technically sure if he claims St. Paul or Minneapolis. I think St. Paul. I've known Brian for 20 plus years. Him and I worked together at a tech company once, but he was in a band called With when I was in a band called Drop Nickel, and we used to do shows together. While I was doing the Blue Room Records thing, he was in another band called Seconds Before, which was just a brilliant band, and they were a part of the Blue Room Records umbrella as well. So I've known him for a long time. I've been a fan of his work for forever, and he's got a song here called Built to Last that we're going to talk about. So let's get into it. Again, here is Built to Last by Brian Larson.
Ready to roll now, and ready to run free, with her arms wide open, and I think she's smiling at me, 'cause she knows I ain't going nowhere. I've been here all along. I made a lot of wrong turns, but I'm back in my lane now. Let me pull off ahead of you, wrap the wind around your back, and then let's take this thing to the stars. We're built to last. We're built to last, like a cobblestone road. Built to last through all the unknown. With two hands on the wheel and my head in a cloud, they'll see us flying past. But sure as hell, we're built to last. Made a trip through the woods to put some demons to rest in. Up at the top of J.P. Hill, I was no longer a man. I dropped down and I broke into puzzle pieces from the past, laid out all over the ground. Most of them were upside down. Facing up, I shut, I looked around. You ready to be found? It's because of you I know this too shall pass. We're built to last. We're built to last, like a cobblestone road. Built to last through all the unknown. With two hands on the wheel and my head in a cloud, they'll see us flying past. Sure as hell, we're built to last. We're built to last. We're built to last.
All right, and that was Built to Last by Brian Larson. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with Brian, so please stay with us. All right, and we're back. Let's bring in Brian, but before we do, I have a bit of a disclaimer here. We also get into some pretty heavy subjects about personal health and personal health choices. And I just want to say as a disclaimer, these are our opinions about our life experiences individually, respectively. And in no way are we trying to suggest you should just go ahead and blindly implement anything that worked for either of us, respectively, without talking to your trusted healthcare professionals first. Cool. All right. So with that, let's bring in Brian. Hey, Brian, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thanks so much, Brett. I'm super stoked to be here. And I love that you're doing this podcast. I've enjoyed listening to the episodes so far. And yeah, thanks, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know we've known each other for quite a while. And for all of you that are listening, Brian and I met in the Minneapolis independent rock music scene 20 years ago or more. When you were in different bands and I was in different bands, and we were doing shows together and really had that spirit in the scene of really trying to, everybody come together to cross kind of promote, cross collaborate, so we all kind of can rise to the next level. And I've seen that in so many different elements of bands you've been in over the years, and just listening to your songwriting and different, radio shows I know you've done, and songwriter sort of studio things that I know you've done. And obviously, not only from those bands, but then, post bands like being in Seconds Before and all that, a part of Blue Worm Records specifically, that we were all working on together, which is, why I really wanted to talk to you about any song that you wanted to talk about that's, particularly meaningful to you, that you want to share about. And you sent over a song called Built to Last, which I just have to start by saying I love it. It's such a great song for me to hear from you, and hearing from you have such a beautiful kind of Americana pop sensibility that I just love. And it really shows in that. And I love how there's this raw element going on in it that's super stripped down, but it's vulnerable, and it's beautiful. It's hooky. It's like, there's so many great things about it. But anyway, I'll stop gushing for a minute and turn it back over to you. I just want to find out, tell us about why you chose that song. Why is that song meaningful to you, and whatever you'd like to share about it.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much, Brett. That means a lot, man. As a someone that's definitely been a fan of everything you've done musically in all its various incarnations. And yes, we do go quite a ways back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I picked Built to Last because it's I have plenty of songs, especially older stuff back in like Seconds Before, and then even bands before that. And I've often struggled with lyrics and that sort of thing in the past. And Built to Last was kind of like in this small group of songs that post-pandemic, I kind of finally got back to writing again. Or it's almost like it found me again in some ways.
Sure.
I got to get like way out there, I'm guessing you relate somewhat as a songwriter. And
I do.
So it was almost like a creative or writer's block kind of thing. So and then also the song is actually about some stuff, so it's something that I can actually talk about. So
Sure.
But there is some meaning behind it, and it's a tune that I'm proud of, honestly. I since I like kind of started writing again, because it used to be like years before I'd finish a tune, just kind of naturally, and part of that is raising kids and doing other things. It came about on a run. It's just sort of a line that hit me, but I set out to write a song. It's not like, oh, it just popped into my head, man. You sent me the song. I was like, I want to write a song. And I kind of got the first line, and then it kind of came from there. I remember it taking a long time to get the second verse together. That always seems to be often the hardest part.
Sure.
So it took a little while to finish, but that's sort of how the song started. And then as I've gotten back into songwriting, I guess, to stay in the workshop realm here, I like the song would just be stuck in my head. Like you get an earworm, which sometimes you like, sometimes you don't.
Yep.
Anyway, so it's weird because it's like my brain just kept working on it. Almost like a background task or something
Yeah.
to know a bit. So it's been cool getting back into writing, and I'm a little nervous just because you use the term vulnerable in the song, and it is, and it's definitely kind of, there's some heart on your sleeve about it. I don't have the same perspective, so of course I'm like interested to hear what other folks' interpretations of it may be. um but at any rate, really it's about personal change and like significant change, certainly starting with like pandemic time. I don't think anybody was fully immune to their their own mental well-being, was not immune to what people have gone through and are still going through with COVID.
Agreed.
um, but for me, it started in 2020, and the personal change for me, it has to do with addiction. I was drinking too often. I mean, my story with it is would make a terrible TV movie. I always feel like I need to explain, like, hey, this is boring. It would not be a good TV show. And if it would, it probably would have been better, because it's probably issues that I would have addressed a lot longer ago. And that is why, I mean, I think alcohol in particular is dangerous. And it's like the one drug that you have to explain for not taking.
Right.
No. Um, just because of how ingrained it is socially. But at any rate, pandemic hits, we're like, we're all gonna die. Or just a big reminder of like, well, I mean, it's the one for sure thing we have in common,
I
other than
just
like,
hold on a second. I just got to say that, Brian. One of the things I've always loved about you is you can take the most tragic, awful things, and just with your inflection and how you say it, I know you're not making light of it, but you can add this sort of, I think levity is the right word, to it, where it just I get to sort of release energy and laugh off some of it, even though it's tragic and it's horrible and it's awful. And I've just always so sincerely appreciated that about you. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
oh man, I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, so I mean, that's really where it started, and in many ways, what the song in a nutshell, what it's about is, my partner and wife, uh we've been together 25 years, married 20 years. It's, I mean, built to last. It's kind of obvious in many
Sure.
ways. Like, the lyrics are pretty straightforward, but it is about how, um like just the faith in a relationship, and a partnership and that sort of thing, and that becoming stronger even after it has been so strong for so long. Um we got we got 3 kids, 13, 10, and 5.
Wow.
So in
Yeah.
some ways still kind of in it, like one just hit kindergarten, so you're like,
Sure.
yeah, you're kind of useful now. um and so,
Right.
so uh, at any rate, I mean, that in a nutshell is what the song is about. It's about, her and I and our relationship and partnership, and that sort of thing. And um, I needed to make some big changes, and I did. And the way I went about it is very unconventional.
I just wanted to let you know there's so much. I don't know if my brain is terrible with words sometimes, and I think synchronicity is the right thing that comes in, or maybe it's serendipitous. I'm not sure, but it's for us having this conversation right now, just about the things you're talking about, because um, I too got to a same place with alcohol and addiction, and had to plug the jug a while back, as well as I'm a long distance runner too. And I totally understand, when you're talking about going for a run and writing while you're running. I totally understand that. I don't listen to music when I run. And for me, it's beautiful just because where I live, I run on this path called the Doodle Trail that used to be a train line forever ago. They converted to a path, and it runs in the middle of the country, just in the middle of nowhere. And it was just a glorious day in upstate South Carolina where you're in the hills, the sky's blue, the weather's 50 degrees, and it's just birds and everything. It's awesome. And while I'm running through it, I get these little mantras in my head that I kind of keep saying all the time that sort of keep my brain busy instead of thinking about, gosh, I really want to stop running. It's like, no, instead, well, what can I latch onto that helps keep me going? And, I'm working on learning a couple of tunes, and there's this one lead part in this song that I'm learning on guitar that just looped, and it was perfect. And it was like this perfect in cadence with it was just awesome. And then building from that to kind of start writing like additional parts and different things and what the vocal comes in and what about, and all I'm doing that, and it's all occupying my brain space when my body's on autopilot just running. And then again, just really experiencing the present moment of nature and all of that without trying to hug too many trees in the process. But I think you know what I mean. Anyway, I just wanted to share that, just that, it seems like there's been some significant similarity, even though I feel like I don't know the last time I talked to you prior to today.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you, sharing that, Brad, because I've found that when I do talk about this stuff, when somebody has a share, somebody else usually does too. They're inspired to, because you sort of, put and taken a bit of a leap of faith with like, you know what, either you're going to judge me or I don't care if you do.
Exactly. Right.
And that's funny that we have that in common.
Yep.
And actually sharing that kind of stuff. And, I mentioned mental health earlier,
Sure.
is I think really important, because part of these changes and part of, believe it or not, like it's more subtext, but in the song is about connecting with others and me returning to music and
Sure.
starting to really write again and starting to almost write like I never did. I was always singing
Right.
in bands, and then doing, the twangy hippy dippy stuff on the side. But now it's like just all coming out, which is great. But I guess all of this is to say that there's the connection with others, and like, like I'm putting together a band, and the people I'm playing with, like, even though I've known some of them for a long time, you start to get to know people in different ways, especially when you talk real stuff,
Yep.
and at any rate, so that is a big part of, these changes that I went through and kind of led to this song as well. And I guess digging into the tune a little bit more, and I guess God, I try to avoid the word, but journey, man. Like I avoided that word for a long time, and then you like,
Sure.
you
It's a
just
process, man. I mean, I get it. Like, just totally just cutting you off for a second. Hold on. I want to get into the COVID bit of it because I understand exactly what you mean. Like, I love that you said it, that sometimes it takes you years to finish a song. I'm so in contact with that feeling and that sentiment because that's been true for me too. There's things that I'm finishing writing now that I think I started when I was in Drop Nickel in 98. Like things that have shown up that have just been fumbling around on the peripheral for 20 plus years. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, it finally connected somewhere. And now it's like it's making sense and I can keep exploring it and make it happen. So, I mean, I totally get that. I mean, I also relate to the idea of kind of learning how to kind of writing now like you never had before. I went through a similar experience where I had to, it's almost like if music just decided, no, Brett, you don't get to do this right now. You don't get to write music right now. You got some stuff to go figure out. Go figure that out. And when that comes back, then we'll see, like music's this other entity that I actually engage with that gives me this, the ability to to create out of it. And somewhere along the line that started to happen again for me, but it's still a tremendously slow process for me.
Mhm.
I write really slowly, and I can write, particularly if I'm writing by myself, and that's what was so difficult about, well, I mean, frankly, the past 10 years for me. I've moved around so much, and then the pandemic, it's like there's a lot of isolation in songwriting, even though file sharing's out there and we can try all these other things, and was successful with some of that in collaborating with others, but really, I miss the years of being in practice spaces with people. Just you walk in, plug in, turn on something, nobody says hello. All of a sudden there's a riff playing, and next thing you know, you've written like this awesome song over the course of the next hour, and then you're like, "Oh, hey guys, how's it going?" Um, and I really miss that experience. And so with that being sort of, maybe in my future, it's not right now, but we'll see. The like really trying to connect into writing has been really challenging, particularly when it's flipping styles. Even like you were saying with, being primarily a singer in bands, and then you're songwriting now as a guitar player, and which is again great. And I know you've been doing it for a long time. And it doesn't sound new. It doesn't sound like, hey, this is your first foray into songwriting at all. I mean, it's. I love the song, and I don't know if there's this subtle nod to an old Clash tune in one of your melodies that I just love. It's just like
Oh, I
this.
love hearing these comparisons,
Yeah,
or like, oh, you sound like so and so, which like some people hate that and people hesitate to say it. So I love hearing that.
and
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
really
curious.
not trying to say you sound like, it's just I can
Oh,
tell as an influence. It's like, I don't know, somewhere in there, even if it's subconsciously, it's just cool how that showed up. And with that, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back more with Brian Larson. Stay with us. All right, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us, and here we are back with Brian.
there's a different song that I've written and plan to release. Will probably be next year, maybe late next year, called "The Road Ahead." And when I was writing it, the chorus, I was like, "This is a different song. This is some big popular song." And then it finally hit me, and I'm like, "Oh crap, it's Pretty Woman." And so I had like it was exactly that, and I'm like, "What?" Like I never listened to
That's
Roy.
funny.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
incredible. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, sure.
So it was just kind of funny. Anyway, at that point, I needed to change. I was able to change it enough where I think you only hear it when you like sing over it.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. I mean, what's funny is when I was an ideological younger person, I used to really bag on people that it was obvious who their influences were or what they were like ripping. It's like they're ripping this off from somebody. And one of the greatest proprietors of that, in my opinion, is Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. Just, I mean, I love old Green Day, and I think Billy Joe's a fantastic songwriter. But it's just one of those. I'd hear these things, and I'm like, dude, that is exactly, Sister Golden Hair Surprise. Like you just totally bit that chorus like completely. But it's like not really. It's only because I've connected with it and I know it. But I mean, even with what you're saying with originality, it's like, no, I'm constantly drawing from all my old influences musically and from other places. I know you and I have connected on even like the elements of graphic design in the past and in that aspect of it. And for me, that's such a perfect way for me to explain that is how songwriting works for me, because it's like I can start with some sort of image, a picture, something, anything, and then I just start evolving it. I start adding other things, I start removing things, I start changing stuff, and then it becomes this original composition. Is it, completely unique and void of influence? Of course not, but it's still an original composition. And to me, music is very similar, and I love that about that, listening to songwriters where I can, hear some of those influences subconsciously or intentionally that are coming out in the song. And that for me is just so much fun to just kind of, I wonder where that came from. You know what I mean? And that just adds fuel for me just to kind of want to dive deeper into the song.
For sure. Yeah, I relate. And especially because sometimes, like I said, I accidentally totally ripped off Roy Orbison in this tune
Sure.
I'm talking about. Not Built to Last, but,
Right.
um, so it happens to you as well. So I really think, just like most things artistic, uh, you got to get out of your own way. And I
Yep.
think back to what we were talking about with experiencing being able to um like write again or do so in a way where you're like, whoa, where is this coming from?
Yep.
Anyway, I guess I just think that there's a connection there. And then to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, that I think is directly related, is, back to the mental health component.
Sure.
And addiction, I think, affects people everywhere some way, whether it's your drunkle or
Right.
directly in your family, or folks started to talk more real about it. And just mental health in general, there's so much that's changed in many ways. I feel like people are talking about it. It's not weird to go to therapy. Like, I wish I would have started 10 years ago. I mean, that's really kind of where the journey, man, started, with me figuring out the addiction stuff with alcohol. Was just knowing that I'm like, okay, I'm not going to try this alone again. And I finally, it was like, time to face your demons.
Sure.
And I found a therapist, and something that was important to me. And this is the part where I'm talking about unconventional, or where there can be a lot of judgment, is, so I still drink, which always feels weird, even weird to say afterward, because of it. The abstinence model is like paramount, and much of that comes from AA. And I'm in no way knocking AA. That's the other thing too, is everything I say about moderation or moderation management, which might even be some new words to other people, or to folks listening to this. It's in no way like saying that abstinence isn't right either, in the sort of moderation world, particularly in drinking, because that's usually the problem, because it's crammed down our throats practically growing up. For me, I kind of just always knew that moderating was right for me, and that's what I had tried in the past. And it was, honestly, half-hearted attempts, when I look back on it. And so much of that has to do with not living authentically. Like, I was totally not in touch with myself. So anyway, I got help, started going to therapy twice a week. I wanted to make sure to find a therapist that was going to be in support of moderation. Part of, I guess, what I wanted to share with this and with the song and my journey with it, is that, the abstinence model isn't the only way. Anyway, that's my whole spiel with booze. um, and that was a big change for me. And that was the roadblock, between me and that, like, just being in touch with yourself, and like kind of living fully and facing your own crap. So that is unconventional. And I did it, like, just with myself and my therapist and a few other things too.
Yeah, no, I hear that, man. And thank you so much just for sharing everything you have about your experience and how this has gone for you through the pandemic and how you've dealt with what you've been dealing with. And thank you again for the gift of the beautiful song. So with that, I want to turn it back over to you to find out, well, what are you working on next, and where can people find you on social media and the internet, or wherever else you want them to find you?
As I mentioned before, I have a lot of other songs going, a bunch unfinished, but all very new and recent. One that even just like flew out of me like within the span of a week. So I'm excited. And I think a lot of this has to do with, to bring it back to what we discussed before listening to the song, is connection with others. Because it was playing my song with like a bass player that I used to, play with here and there. And we did like some cover gigs. And it just like, it hit me where I was connecting with others. So all of this is to say, that playing with other musicians collaboratively is like kind of what was missing for me also, to get back into music. And so I'm doing that right now. I have a band together without a name. And it's with Chris Dales from Seconds Before.
Sure.
He and I have stayed in touch and always been close. And he's a great guitarist, great guy. So he's involved. And then Zach Young from Going to the Sun. And then, of course,
Awesome.
Down and Above. And And then he has a buddy named Derek, and dude showed up, and I was like, one practice, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. It's perfect. So I'm really excited about that. It's a little slow going. You, um, Zach is also in Going to the Sun, which is an incredible band, just like Down and Above was, and so yeah, it's a little casual, but we have plans to do I think like 3 songs, and record them ourselves and release it. I mean, my goal is sometime next year. So that's kind of what's coming up for me, and I'm excited about it, and still writing songs. I'm trying to share more and get out there more on social media. That's been really clunky because I'm a web developer, so I work on a computer all day and it feels like such a chore. Um, but that's been
Sure.
really fun too, even just connecting with people in that way, just even comments here and there. So that is another way that people can share and communicate and be vulnerable to whatever level feels right. Or you could be addicted to it.
Right.
One or the other, find the balance. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what I've been up to, and I'm looking to play more shows. I'm excited about that. Playing live is super fun, and yeah, that's what I'm up to now.
Right on. So where's the best place for people to find centrally how to get a hold of you? Is it brianlarson.com? Is it a Linktree page, or specifically one of the social media sites?
Well, I would say I'm not that active, but like Instagram has kind of been my go-to, which is just at Brian Larson.
Okay.
And then also brianlarson.com. I recently set it up just to redirect to a Linktree
Perfect.
where I'll go add some more things.
Yes, please do.
And
I'll
then
make
the tune
Go ahead.
streaming on like the Built to Last is streaming on like services and that sort of thing. So I want to like quickly release more stuff just under my own name, even while the band stuff is going on, even
Yep.
songs we're recording to get it out there. So yeah, like and subscribe, man.
Absolutely. Of course. Yeah, we all need more likes and subscribes, that's for sure. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today about the song Built to Last. Again, it's a great song. I look forward to the new stuff, the new band. I love those players, all from great bands, great dudes, and look forward to hearing more as you make it. So thanks again, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brett. You got a great thing going here with this podcast. It's really fun to be a part of. And yeah, I encourage everybody to listen to the other stories too, because what I love is that you're doing this, with just all genres and whatever. And it's really fun to hear the stories behind different songs and whatnot. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Brett. This has been really fun.
Absolutely, Brian. It's so great to have you. And I will talk to you soon, man. Thanks again.
All right, take care.
Three Crows Club presents B-Side Breakdown.
All right, and that wraps another episode of the B-Side Breakdown. I wanted to thank Brian Larson for coming along to talk about his song Built to Last. I also want to thank Adam Coulong and Carrie Bozel for helping me put together the jingle you hear at the beginning and the end of this episode. I also want to thank George Powell and Stacy Peralta for giving me permission to use the A&B team's instrumental music from the Search for Animal Chin as background music in the B-Side Breakdown podcast. That is brilliant. Thank you so much. And please subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We have a couple episodes left in season 1, and then we're going to start off season 2 with Megan and Shane, an Americana country band from Nashville, Tennessee. Up next, you're going to get John McEwen from the band Dead History in a couple weeks. So until then, be safe, and we'll see you then.